Just you started talking about Turpin's return at the end of the half, and also in going into that final drive, and just how it doesn't always have to be the big moments that kind of speak to winning games.
Yeah, I think it was good to get the ball in his hands twice on a punt return. And the first one we actually rushed, and CJ and Kelvin Joseph did a great job blocking their gunners because they were one-on-one outside. And then Turpin kind of does what he told me. He said, hey, just get a man on a man and make sure everybody's kind of out of the way. And he has a real natural knack for kind of finding creases. And then the one right before the game-winning drive, we had a return call on. And, it was a good punt, and he took it. And he's a great ball skills, man. So he took it and ran the return, and I think he got us a first down and a half. I don't know if it's 14 or 15-yard return. But anything like that just kind of jump starts your offense and says, okay, we just got a first down and a half, and you guys get a couple more, and we're right there. So the blockers love blocking for him like we've talked about before, and it was great to see him go.
Michael Gulkin, Dallas Morning News. Did that punt hit in your view?
Yeah, sure they looked like it.
Yeah.
Sure looked like it.
Either the replay, just what were your thoughts about the procedures surrounding that? It seemed a bit confusing from afar. I don't know what it was like on the field.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, when it got punted, I saw it hit the board, so I was calling for the punt team to come on back. And then they started to come back, and then they started to go back away from me. And so I was like, I'm not sure what's happening right now, but I know that a punt that hits the scoreboard's a repunt. But I never got an explanation, so I don't really know what the final answer was, to be honest with you. But we were ready to repunt it.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Do you like that rule? His scoreboard, just do it again, or would you rather say, let's just play it?
I think you have to repunt it because, when on Brian's punt, it was a outstanding punt. I mean, spiral, it was going to be a nose down, and then when it supposedly hit the board, it kind of just feathered down, and it landed like on the 35-yard line. Thank goodness we got a good roll, or else I don't know what would have happened. But, I mean, it would have been, from my assumption, probably caught about the 10-yard line or so. So I think it's a good rule. You have to replay it. Although nobody on punt and punt return wants to replay it because when I was calling for them, come on back, guys, we got to do this again, they thought back to the last one, like, oh, damn. That's tiring. Coach running 2 or 3 times in a row on a punt play is tough. So
That directional punt that Anger had to end it, so to speak, what struck you about his execution to pin it the way he did right there on the sideline?
Great question. It reminded me of our Wednesday punt session when we go into the Ford Center and nobody's watching. It was exactly what we practiced. We hit Brian warms up. He goes through 10 directional right, 10 directional left. We have a little competition for him to see how high he can get it and how close to the boundary he can get it. And so right when he hit it, I saw it come off his foot. I'm like, oh, bump, that's a three-pointer for our scoring system we do on Wednesdays. And so it's just fun to see practice pay off in a big moment. And that's all it was our Wednesday practice, just with him, Jake, and Brett, just on our own in the Ford Center. Great ball. It was a great ball.
What does it say about a specialist who can take the practice environment when no one's watching, go out when there's 90+ thousand in person, including TV, and duplicate it just like that?
Yeah, it takes a special person because there's not many. I mean, I've never performed in front of 90,000 people like those guys. So he's a vet. He's the best, I would argue, and that's just what he does. His practice is so intentional, like we talked about last year, and so on the money, exactly what I want to work on, that of course he's going to perform that way because his practice, gets him ready for that.
John, Jory Epstein, Yahoo Sports. Luke in at fullback, is that something that you and Kellen talk about when he's going to be used like that? And what, in your experience, have you seen from him that allows him to succeed in a role like that?
Yeah, I had nothing to do with that. So Kellen, that was all Kellen. But as soon as in practice I saw Luke line up at fullback, of course I was like, let's go, Luke. Rooting for your special teams. The guy was like, come on, throw him the pass, slip him, something. But when I saw him in there in practice into the game, it's kind of one of your core special teams guys. You're like, let's go, man. So that's all Kellen. I'm just a cheerleader at that point. But then, when the ball got snapped, all I'm watching is GIF. And I saw him just burrow himself in there and, dig out just enough space for the touchdown. That it's awesome. Yeah, really cool.
Ray Bloffberg, Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. On the last offensive play, the run going left, did you you guys talked about it, I'm sure, before, but obviously Brett kicks his PATs from the left hash, so
Yep.
he likes left hash.
Yep.
Was that designed to make sure that he was kicking from the left hash?
Yep. Very nice former quarterback. Yeah. We want to get on a certain spot in the field. There's always a yard line, you know, whether it's the 40, 42, 35, end to half end of game. And then Brett likes on the left hash. So it was a great call by Kellen to get us on the left hash. We had plenty of time to get to the ball and clock it. Great poise by Coop. So yeah, that was intentional for sure.
John Fassel, the Athletic. What yard line would you have to get to where you'd feel comfortable putting Brett out there? I asked him after the game. He said, I don't know, I'd probably kick 60, 65. And obviously the kick that he did put up, it looked like it'd been good for a longer. But is there like hey, if we get within this, we'll let him go out there and try it?
Yeah, we said 45-yard line. That was our goal. You know, there's always a little bit of fudge room if there's conditions involved, but that big line is a nice target for the offense to think, let's get past that big line of the 45, and then we feel good about a decision to potentially kick if it's a walk-off. If there's, 10 or more seconds, just in case of a miss, then they get a shot at it. So for an end-to-half, end-of-game, walk-off kick, we make that big line to 45 our target for Brett in our stadium, and it could change, in a road stadium that's outdoors.
And obviously you're happy that you guys just win the game, but just what were your emotions for Brett? Obviously I've been around him for a while. He had some ups and downs, and he seems to be kicking really well.
Yeah, as happy as I can be. I've known Brett since he came out of college and kind of followed his career, like most guys, even if I haven't coached him. And then getting to know Brett when we tried him out last fall, and then we brought him in this training camp. It's just been great to get to know him on a personal level, but also I wouldn't say he's exceeded my expectations, because I always thought he was a really, really good kicker, but just his mental toughness and just poise has been really cool to witness, because you don't really get to know somebody like that until you're coaching them. So he's a pro kicker, ups and downs, and he just, it's 3 50-yard kicks in a row he's made this year. And looking back at it, week 2 for us the last 3 years has ended in a walk-off field goal. Atlanta, week 2, 2020, Chargers, 2021, week 2, and week 2, who we play yesterday? I've been looking at New York the whole day, and Cincinnati yesterday. So week 2 is
You're really on
special.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on it. We're on to New York.
When Devontae has even just a sliced patch of grass, it seems like there's an air in the stadium where people think this could be it. Is there that energy? Do you sense that energy from the sideline, and what does he bring to the team in that respect?
Yeah, as soon as sometimes the ball gets punted, right away I can know it's like, okay, here we go. Here it comes. There was one yesterday where the punter had a great punt. You're like, oh, damn. He put it right on the sideline, knew it was going to be a fair catch. So as soon as the ball gets put in the air, even if it's a kickoff, I can tell right away. It's like, okay, here it comes. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't really feel or hear anything else. But there is a sense of, here it comes. Come on, man. Come on, boys. Block your man, no penalties, all the things that go through your head just to make sure all his return yards count, which is a big thing we talk about. We're going to get some return yards, and we just got to make sure they all count in the terms of, staying away from penalties. But there is a certain air that you feel a little bit when he gets his hands on the ball. So I expect our blocker to continue to improve. We had 8 rookies out there again yesterday, 10 if you count the 2 guys on field goal protection, that are getting some great ball, great ball. So it's great practice for us, and the blockers are going to continue to get better, which I would hope will help our return game as we keep going.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe you got any chances from a kickoff return standpoint. There's touchbacks yesterday, but are you surprised that you still seeing the occasional try on punt return, or is that just kind of, you can't avoid a guy forever, and even if the team respects him, you still have to inevitably test them?
Yeah, I think on kickoff, we can't do anything about it on the kick return perspective, them kicking touchbacks. But like we talked about last week, I think in here a little bit, there's some things hopefully I can do to affect the punt direction a little bit, where it maybe forces them to keep it in play, which is part of the reason why you see some rushes where I know sometimes it's like, why are you rushing with Turb? But sometimes the rush is a necessity to hopefully force some returnable balls, which happened on the one we got the 20-yarder on. So there's a lot goes into play on the decision making on are we rushing, are we returning, are we half line pressure. A lot of it has to do with trying to sometimes force them to punt it to you if you think they got a really good directional punter. So I'm talking way too much, and that's all that's in my head right now with how do we get the ball in Terp's hands. And there's, you know, it's not as easy as just line everybody up and just hold them up and block them, because then the punter can just tee it up, and it's like, well, there you go, there's a fair catch. So there's a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. We often talk about CJ's ability as a gunner, but I was just curious from a jammer standpoint, what do you think he provides in that respect?
Sorry, CJ from a gunner and
We
Yeah.
talk about him as a gunner, but like on say punt return,
Yeah.
what do you feel he breeds in that area?
yeah, best in the league. Tied, I'm biased, tied with Kelvin Joseph. I mean, if I'm sure there's probably a lot of people that like to watch the film, and I'm biased, I get it, but their ability to work on the punt return singled up, what we asked them to do is very, very hard. Very hard, and I probably haven't asked anybody else to do it before we got CJ and Kelvin Joseph, and so their duties are very, very high level difficulty, and they have become very, very good at doing a really hard job. And it probably goes unnoticed, but not by our guys in the room.
CJ's one thing, but when it comes to Kelvin, how do you make the determination in terms of his readiness to take on that sort of a trust workload?
Yeah, he's taken every snap for us on all 4 phases in both special teams games. And the trust comes from last season when he played. I mean, he produced every game, and he practices hard. He's very quiet. I think he's maybe an unknown commodity type in the special teams world, but not for us. I mean, he's been fantastic, and he's, you know, if you had CJ, but you're like, yeah, we don't really have anybody else, and they can just load up on CJ and try to take him out of the game. But with Kelvin over there, if I was playing against us, that would be some hard decisions to make on. You can't really take both of them out of the game, so which one do you take out? And then the other guy's got to win. So Kelvin Joseph's been outstanding. I'm super proud of him. He's gone through different things, but great pro, excellent player, quiet, strong in the meetings. I mean, I could go on and on, but I'm proud of Kelvin.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, you guys.